Good morning, 9th and O. I'm Isaac Reff, and I'm back again with another devotionable, brief devotions for busy people. Today we'll look at a few verses from Psalm 119, verses 89 through 120. And I've grouped these in two sets of three, and then one verse to finish us off. Our first three verses are verses 89 through 91, and listen to them. Forever, O Lord, your word is settled in heaven. Your faithfulness continues throughout all generations. You establish the earth and it stands. They stand this day according to your ordinances, for all things are your servants. This trio of verses is held together by a common theme. That theme is the Lord's permanent power. The Lord's word has been settled forever in heaven, always ready to exercise authority over the earth. When he speaks in heaven, it is accomplished on earth. And the next verse continues this idea. God's faithfulness is throughout all generations, and the stability of the earth proves this. He's the one who created the earth, and here it is. He put it into motion, and still it spins. The Lord's faithfulness, that is his desire and his ability to keep his promises, is permanent, just like his word. And the next verse is similar to the previous one. The idea here is that God's ordinances, his decisions, stand firm, just in the same way the earth does. His decisions about how the history of the world is going to unfold will turn out established because all things are his servants. All things exist to serve and obey him. The psalmist is engaging in a bit of personification in these verses. He's taken God's word, God's faithfulness, and God's decisions and personified them as God's workforce, ready to do whatever he wills. God's word is always sovereign, his faithfulness is always dependable, and his decisions always come to pass, because all things exist for the sole purpose of obeying him. And that means a very good thing for us. It means stability. Our God's plan will always come to fruition, and nothing can threaten it. We live in confusing and turbulent and even distressing times. It's easy to let our spirits be like ships tossed about on an ocean, blown this way and that by the wind. But we find our anchor in his permanent power. The next verses I want to look at are also a trio. And again, listen to verses 98 through 100. Your commandments make me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever mine. I have more insight than all my teachers, for your testimonies are my meditation. I understand more than the aged because I have observed your precepts. The theme in this verses is the wisdom of the word. First, we see that God's commandments makes us wiser than our enemies. To put it simply, obeying God makes us wiser than those who disobey him. Since God is the one who made the world, he knows how it works. He's the one who created men and women, so he knows how men and women ought to live and function. He's the one who created parents and children, so he knows what is appropriate for parents and children. Obeying God is wise. Disobeying God is foolish and stupid. When we obey God's commandments, we align ourselves with the order and the structure of reality. When we reject his commandments, we put our lives out of alignment, and we invite trouble and hardship and strife into our lives. The second verse in this trio escalates the theme. Now God's testimonies give us more insight than our teachers, than the ones who are supposed to be passing off information and understanding and knowledge. However, God's testimonies reveal their riches to those who meditate on them. A quick glance at God's word is far better than nothing, but it is not sufficient for deep comprehension. Gold and silver are buried deep underground. They can only be extracted with effort and patience. And the riches of God's word are similar. Don't settle for a shallow grasp of God's word. Dig deep. The final verse of the trio brings the set to its climax. Observing God's precepts makes us understand more than the aged, more than the elders whose job it is to provide guidance and wisdom for the community. The last verse showed us the necessity of deep thinking on God's word. This verse tells us thinking must result in action. It is the combination of deep thought and careful observance of God's Word that will make us wiser than sages, philosophers, and professors. You don't need to be a genius to be wise. You don't need a college degree. You may spend your whole life working as a car mechanic or a stay-at-home mom, but if you give yourself to thinking about God's Word and putting it into practice, you will have the wisdom of the Word. Our last verse is one of the most well-known verses in the Bible, and it doesn't need any more interpretation than for me to simply read it. Psalm 119, 105. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Brothers and sisters, keep God's Word close to you, a lamp shining in a dark world until the day dawns and Christ, the morning star, returns.